2024 is here, and along with it is the full roster of every professional fishing league out there. We have the NPFL, we have the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour, we have the Bassmaster Elites, and then we have the more pro-am side with the Bassmaster Opens. There's a ton of moving and changes happening this year with anglers, similar to kind of what happened back in 2019. That was a weird time. We don't have quite as many anglers leaving this year, but we do have quite a few leaving the Bass Pro Tour. As a matter of fact, we have, I believe, 13 leaving the Bass Pro Tour and going to the NPFL, to the Opens, retiring, or even going back to the Elites. I'm going to break down this list of everything that's happening in this video. So I went through and compiled a list of every angler that is either leaving, retiring, all that fun stuff. And I think that the first notable thing that we need to check out is who's leaving the BPT and why. The first notable one that I have on my list is Tommy Biffle, who has been an Elite Series angler since the beginning of the Elite Series, plus a lot longer. Switched over to the Bass Pro Tour when everybody switched over in 2019, I believe. And now he is leaving the Bass Pro Tour, going to the National Professional Fishing League, which I think is an awesome move for him. I think he'll do really well with that. That seems more suited to his style. I mean, he's done the whole catch 5 fish format for the majority of his career. Only just switching over to BPT a few years ago, it makes sense. I could see why he would want to do that. Next, we have Josh Butler. He's going to the Bassmaster Opens as an EQ angler, trying to get that either a classic berth or on to the Elite Series. After that, we have Mitch Crane, and I couldn't find any information about Mitch. If you look through the roster for the Opens, for the BPT, for anything, NPFL, he's not on it. I couldn't find anything. I scoured social media, couldn't come up with anything. So that one's out. I don't know what's happening with him. Another one is Roy Hawk. He's leaving the BPT. He is not on the roster for the year. I looked all over, could not find anything on him either. I don't know what the deal is. I'm friends with him on Facebook. He didn't have anything posted about it, so we don't know. He's probably going to find something else to do in the industry, just like a bunch of other people that have left pro fishing in the past. We've got Brett Height, who will be returning to the Bassmaster Opens after leaving the BPT. Timmy Horton, who is retiring after a very successful career, both with Bassmaster. I think he fished with FLW before MLF bought them, and now he is leaving the Bass Pro Tour to retire. So, dude's had a great career. I've met him a couple of times. Really nice guy. And I think he's earned it. He's still got his TV show and this and that. I'm sure he's still going to be in the industry in some way, shape, or form. But he's getting out of the professional fishing side of the business. Jeff Crete, another one that I didn't find any information on. He is leaving the BPT. MLF posted that. He's not listed on anything for Bassmaster, and he's not listed on the NPFL either. Russ Lane is going to the Opens. He is leaving the BPT, just like the rest of this list of anglers, I guess. And he's going to go try to get that classic spot or that Elite Series berth, which is where he came from before he went to BPT. So it'd be cool to see a lot of these guys kind of get back and go to their roots. They're doing it the right way, going back and just restarting again. And they take the top 9 or 10 anglers from the Opens, and in theory every one of these guys that goes to the Opens could make it back to the Elite Series, and that would bring it another step closer back to pre-2019 or 2020 Bassmaster Elite Series, which would be phenomenal. That was, other than the 2000s to the mid-2010 era, that was like the highlight of Bassmaster, and then it all went downhill. I digress. Then we've got Jordan Lee, who accepted a Legends exemption for winning 2 Bassmaster Classics in a row, might I add. And he's going back to fish the Bassmaster Elite Series, which is awesome. I think that is a great move for Jordan in his career. He's had a really good career. He's won 2 Classics, like I mentioned. And that's nothing to shake a stick at. Dude's killer. He's great on the Elites. He's talked about it a ton in a bunch of different interviews with Mercer, with Bass Talk Live and Matt Pangrac. I think Bassmaster is where he belongs. It seems like a lot of these guys, they just don't like where the BPT is headed, especially with them wanting to cut anglers. They're not cutting as many anglers as they said they initially would for next year, but in 2025 they will be cutting that field down to 50 anglers. And there's a lot of moving that's happening. I think it's because of that. Guys are really afraid of what's going to happen with that, so they're trying to get their stuff together, get back to bass, get to the MPFL, whatever it may be. We're going down to Cody Myers. I don't know Cody very well. I've met him a couple of times. Seems like a great dude. One of my neighbors is actually amazing friends with him, which is awesome. He is going back to the Bassmaster Opens. He is leaving the BPT, and that's another dude that you got to watch out for in any tournament. Dude's a hammer, and he catches giant spots. If there's a place with spotted bass on the schedule for the Opens, which I haven't actually checked, you should probably be careful. Dude knows how to catch some spots. We've got Cliff Pace, who is a previous Bassmaster Classic winner. I believe he won in 2013. He is going back to the Opens. Interesting thing about Cliff is there's a lot of guys that are vying for this the Legends exemption to get back to the Elite Series, and interestingly, he can get back in through that Legends exemption, but I think that they're only taking one per year, and it's going in order of recognition, which would take Jordan Lee first because he won 2 Classics in a row. So Cliff at some point in time probably will have the option to go back to the Elites due to that Legends exemption they got for winning a Classic. Got Randall Tharp, very, very successful angler back on the FLW Tour days. I believe that he fished the Elites for a little bit and then went to the BPT. Now he is going back to the Opens to try to get a spot, I believe, for the Elites. I know he made a video about the whole situation, but I don't remember if he said that the Elites was his goal. I'm pretty sure it is, but I remember hearing that there were a few guys that just wanted to stay in the industry. I don't know if staying in the Opens would be the way to do it, because that's just a giant money pit, even though the money has gotten better this year. But Randall is going to the Opens. Then we have the legend himself, Mr. KVD, who is retiring after a very, very long career. I don't think that this is going to be permanent. I'm pretty sure he's going to be back. He's talked about wanting to spend time with his family and this and that. And I'm sure, he's going to do that. He's still going to be in the industry, though. I'm sure we'll see him at the Classic Expos and ICAST and this and that. But I really don't think this is permanent. He has more than enough accolades to get back into the Bassmaster Elite Series if he wanted to, and I think that's what he'll do. Just give it some time. He might hop back on. I don't remember exactly how the whole schedule comes out for the Classic, but honestly what I think he's wanting to do, and this is just my opinion, I haven't talked to him or talked to anybody that's really talked to him, but I think he's gonna wait until he knows what Classic is coming up, because I believe it's like a year in advance we find out about it, and he'll try to find his way to the Elites and go try to win another Classic. Now this year it does seem like it was a little bit later that they announced the Classic. I think it was actually at the Classic, so it'd be hard for him to slide in there, but KVD knows some people. I'm sure it's already set up years in advance on who or on what place is going to get the Classic for the next year or two. I'm sure somebody knows, and I'm pretty sure that Kevin probably knows the person to get in contact with, and he'll know when to strike to get back on the Elites. That's what I think is happening. Kevin is a very smart man, and I know for a fact that he wants to win one more Classic. So that's the 13 that are leaving the BPT. There are 4 people leaving the Bassmaster Elite Series as well. Bradley Hallman is the first one on my list. He's stepping away after 1 season. He qualified for the Elites in 2022 through the Opens and fished 1 season. I've heard him talk about it. If you've been on YouTube, you've probably seen the videos of him talking about it. He just wants to spend time with family. It's not exactly what he thought it was, I think, and he just wants time away from it, and that's understandable. I know the dude's been he's really grinded over the years. You can see that through his tournament videos, through all the tips and tricks that he uploads to social media. the dude knows his stuff, and he's ready for a break. Same thing goes to Micah Frazier. I don't know a lot about Micah. He has fished for quite a long time off of the Elite Series. He made it to the Elite Series, and he is stepping away for family reasons as well, to spend time, with them. Completely understandable. I know that these guys are absolutely dogging themselves by working as a pro angler. I mean, it's not easy for sure. And we have the general himself, Mr. Larry Nixon, retiring after a very, very long career. He came back a few years ago due to a Legends exemption to fish the Elites, and he's done with it. He's getting off of there. I believe I heard him talking about wanting to fish the MPFL. I don't know if that has come to fruition or not. In fact, I know it hasn't for this year, I'm pretty sure. But he's wanting to retire, which is completely understandable. Then we have David Fritz, who for the past 2 or 3 months has been talking about retiring. He's done fishing. He's going to retire. But then on the Dave Mercer podcast on Mercer, he said he's going to the MPFL. And whenever the MPFL released their roster just a couple of days ago, his name was listed as an angler that is going to be fishing, which is pretty cool. He said that the way it sets up, the time between tournaments, it's not stacked on top of each other like the Elites is and MLF was. He really liked the thought of that, and it would be easier on him. He's getting older. He's been doing this a long time, and he's going to go fish it, which is great. I think that that's something that is perfect for him. I do like the idea of there being more time between events. I think that there's like a month and a half, 2 months between some of them, so that would definitely give him time with family, time to recoup, time to do everything that he wants to do. So that's for their leaving Bassmaster, and they're all leaving for good reason. There's nothing about any sketchy kind of stuff happening as there is with MLF. They're leaving for legitimate reasons. So then we go down to who is joining the National Professional Fishing League, and I've already mentioned one of these, but some of them are staying with the Elites and whatnot. There's only really 2 I'm seeing that are rejoining the MPFL that haven't been on it or are joining the MPFL. First off, as I've said, we got Tommy Biffle leaving the BPT, going to the MPFL. I could see that working out really well for him for the same reasons it works out for David Fritz. Zach Burge, who will still be competing. I believe he's competing on the BPT, so he will be fishing both series, which is awesome. We've got Drew Cook, Bassmaster Elite Series angler. He will also be joining the MPFL. We've got Buddy Gross, who will also continue fishing the Elites. He will also be fishing the MPFL. Kyle Welcher, who is the Bassmaster Angler of the Year for 2023, he has decided to go ahead and fish the National Professional Fishing League for 2024, which is awesome. I like to see it whenever these guys kind of leave their league and fish both at the same time. That was a huge thing to do back in the early 2010s, early 2000s, mid 2000s. Guys would fish both Bassmaster and FLW Tour at the same time. I remember Ish Monroe doing that. At one point, John Cox was fishing like every tour known to man at the same time, which was a baller move in my opinion. It made him a better angler. I'm 100% convinced of that. Then we've got Pete Pons, who has a very much a history as an angler, both with Bassmaster and FLW2, I do believe. And last but not least, we have John Sokup returning to the MPFL. He fished the first year of the MPFL, and I believe he fished the second one as well, but he did not fish last year. He took last year off and fished the Elite Series after qualifying through the Opens, and he didn't have the greatest year. I believe he finished 100 in AOI, which is not good. If he has another bad year like that, he is out of the Elites because they only allow 2 years under, I think it's 80th place or something like that. So he's really going to have to make up some ground this go around and do better. I mean, that's honestly all there is to it. And then last but not least, we do have one angler returning to MLF, which is very interesting to me. Bobby Lane. Bobby Lane was one spot out of going to the Elite Series this year, and instead of trying to drag himself back and make it to the Elites, he has opted to take their version of the Legends exemption and go fish Major League Fishing. I know that his sponsors had a lot to do with that. He mentioned that in a podcast, I do believe, and he said it was the right thing to do, so that's exactly what he's doing. Now, I haven't taken a huge look at who's fishing the EQs this year. I know that Bassmaster dropped the full field a month or two ago. Like I said, there are a few Major League Fishing guys that are going to it, stuff like that. But it is going to be absolutely full of hammers beyond those Major League Fishing guys. This is not the year. The next couple years are not the years I'd want to be fishing the Opens to try to get a classic spot or a berth to the Elite Series. But man, what a list. There's a lot of different data that I've kind of put together trying to figure all this out. I'm not going to bore you guys with it, but there is a full field of 310 pros, 80 for Major League Fishing, 103 for Bassmaster, and 127 for the MPFL. We have 3 of them retiring. We have 13 leaving the BPT, and then 4 leaving Bass. So 310 all across the board. I did the math. Less than 1% of people are retiring, which I guess is good. We've got over 16% of the BPT leaving Major League Fishing and either going back to Bass, going to the MPFL, or retiring, which that's not good. There's been so much said about Major League Fishing recently. A lot of people have come out and said stuff. James Watson being like the #1 speaking person, I guess, and Jordan Lee have both talked about it a lot. I'm surprised that, well, Kevin's part owner, I guess, but Van Dam, I'm surprised that he hasn't said anything. I'm sure that there is a little something there that he's not going to talk about, which is completely understandable. But man, there's so much going on. I've got a couple of friends that are fishing the BPT, and I'm not going to name drop anybody, but I know that there's some bad stuff going on over there, and nobody is happy about the whole dropping the field down to 50 anglers in 2025. Man, it's just not what they thought it was, and I think that these numbers really show that. You know, there's a lot of guys that don't want to sit there and throw all their fish back. They want to do the thing where they go through the weigh-in line, they get up on the stage and all that. And it's just not the same with the BPT, not anymore. That's not the way that it works. You know, you've got their smaller, like their invitationals and stuff with Major League Fishing, and they do the whole weigh-in thing. And it seems like a lot of the guys that lead BPT talk about how much they miss doing that, and it's just not a thing anymore. Not with Major League Fishing. They do the catch, weigh, release thing for the BPT. So that's pretty much the list. That is all the roster. That's everything that I could find. That is the reasons given that all these pros have come out on social media, done interviews, done everything, showing that they're done for the year. So, or what they're doing for the year. And yeah, that's about it. Hopefully we'll get back to some fishing content here very, very soon. I've been actually out doing a little bit here and there, but I've been so fascinated with all the news and the different things happening right now. I've kind of enjoyed doing this, like almost like a podcast kind of deal, but it's not exactly. I'd love to do a podcast sooner or later, but for right now, you know, it's time. I think it's time to get back to fishing. So, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you right here in the next video.